you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, interweb? How's everybody doing? Happy Thursday. It's Baby Friday, as I've heard some people call it. So another great Thursday, another great week, another great show coming right for you today. But before we get started, I like to kind of premise this, not only premise the show, but basically say, hey, this show is all about the Second Amendment and freedom of speech. So if you like what you hear, stick around, like, subscribe, refer to other people or the veterans to the show. And if you don't, you also have the right too. You can just move on to the next thing and swipe left. You know what I mean? So, but with that being said, why don't we go ahead and kick the show? So, so this week, I like to listen. Not only do I like to listen to my podcast, just to kind of see, things that I can improve upon for my next show and so on and so forth. But I also like to, get ideas as to maybe I'll try this, engaging with my audience this way and that way. So obviously everybody likes the Joe Rogan experience. I'm a great fan. I'm a big time fan of Joe Rogan. I think the dude is great. And he's just pretty freaking funny. But, he had this dude from the army there then. And at one point they started talking about, recruiting and numbers and generation and such. And I myself, being a former recruiter, obviously my ears were like bing, it just piqued my interest as to the topic that we're saying. And and the number, and what he was saying is that recruitment over the last couple of years has been falling to very drastic levels, which is concerning because I myself, obviously I'm a veteran. I volunteered, and obviously everybody's situation it's a little bit more different why they joined the service. But I mean, let me tell you why. Excuse me, why I joined the service in the first place. One, my first encounter with the military or seeing any military folks was when I came here in the mid to early 80s. I had seen there was a lot of things were happening in my home country of Colombia. And at one point in time, some of the rebels of, I believe it was the M19 or the People Liberation Army, the ELN, they tried to take over Parliament. Obviously, this was during the whole turmoil of drugs and things like that in the country. Anyways, I saw Marines hooking and jabbing along with the Colombian military, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's pretty freaking badass!" And everything. And obviously, back then, some of the few commercials that you got to see at the time was, some dude, scaling a mountain, and at the top, lightning hits him and all that good shit, and he boom, blues uniform. The dude is doing sword manual at the top. Man looks, the guy looks pretty sharp and friggin', motivated, right? So things like that. Obviously, my buddy, we have myself and Ken, who you folks have seen it on the show before. Ken and I would have been like the last two people that you would have said, "Hey, yeah, you joining the military?" And we're like, "Fuck no, you're crazy." But a mutual friend of ours at the time, he joined the service, and at first, like, man, what an idiot, right? But then the more we looked at it, we say, you know what? That doesn't sound half bad. We didn't want to stay around. I did have other options. I could have gone to school for many other things. I was into the arts and things like that. So I was offered a dancing scholarship. Yes, believe it or not, your boy can dance. So, um, I was offered, I had those options at Florida International University, amongst, like I said, cheerleading and all those other things. Yes, I did cheer in high school and all that good stuff. So don't let the shirt fool you. But we just, even though that, for me, I realized, hey, you know what, these people would be wasting their money because I don't want to go to school at this time. So the military had a lot of good options. I want, mechanics, being a mechanic, turning wrenches was something that always attracted me. And plus, I wanted to be a motorcycle mechanic. So, the recruiter saw me a mile coming, and he's like, "Hey, man, have I got a deal for you guys?" So I did that, and my buddy Ken and I, we went into in the program. But also the uniform. I mean, for me, that uniform was like, and nothing against all the other armed services, uh, but it's just the intern, that little banter between all those. I mean, fuck the blues uniform, man. Those are panty droppers. I don't care where you, I don't care who you are, which side. I mean, let's all shots call this shots fired. But the fucking blues, man. Those, that uniform, panty droppers. Anywhere you go, fuck. Even when, I forgot the name of the commandant that trademarked the digitized camouflage uniform. Um, Under him, I mean, we walked in with DG camis when we were in Iraq in 2003. I mean, I mean, we were the coolest motherfuckers in Iraq. I mean, walking around among all the other armed services, they were still wearing, the old style camouflage um, camis and stuff. But those desert digis, man, panty droppers. I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, of course, I wanted that prestige. Wanted to be Marine. Once, first in, last out. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I mean, that was, and I wanted all that, all the blaze and glory of being in the military, and as well as all the benefits that came with it. My mom also thought it would be great in the sense for me, because I mean, it would make a man out of me, or if you're a girl, it would make a woman out of you. I mean, bottom line. Anyways, so that's the reason why I joined. I mean, I want to be part of something. I wanted to give back, because coming a kid from Colombia and everything, what a great opportunity. And you've heard my friend Gino, who just, by the way, Gino Osorio, Master Guns, Iraq, get some. Congratulations on your promotion, brother. Gino is a recruiter. He's a lifer in the streets, and he himself is Colombian, like me. I mean, we both can attest that, hey, we just wanted to be part of something much bigger than us. So that was my why I joined, my call to arms, so to speak. But so as I was listening to this podcast, coming back to my original comment is that numbers are falling. I mean, drastically. And the U.S. became a volunteer force in 1973, obviously post Vietnam era and stuff, where it was mandatory. I come from a country where it's changed over the years a little bit, but it's still, a lot of countries is still you turn 18, boom, your ass goes into the service. I remember growing up, because again, I went to school, I grew up and I went to school in Colombia. It wasn't until I became a teenager, or close to it, preteen, that I came to this country. And I remember, so I was going to school in junior high. I remember graduation happened. I remember a truck, a military truck parked outside. Started, hey, get in, you graduated, boom, get in the truck, just taking people, to military, get your head shaved and all that good stuff. You're going to boot camp, and you're going to be part of something, regardless whether you want it to or not. It's changed over the years, but pretty much this, I mean, it's still mandatory. So, that being said, it should be concerned. We as Americans should be concerned nowadays that those numbers are falling. One of the things that as I did my research and also listening to this guy's still on active duty. He's a sergeant. He's a recruiter. He does a lot of things sponsored by the Army to try to promote the service and so on and so forth. He's a recruitment tool, so to speak. But one of the things is that it's that one, people just don't want to join, and two, obesity has gotten, with our youth, has gotten, it's pretty freaking high out, and it's gotten worse over the years. And this is, and I'm here to you know be a little bit of a myth buster, but it's this is before COVID. I mean, video games and people just want to be sedentary. I mean, yeah, it's gotten worse. um, um, a little bit, the numbers have increased because of COVID and during that time frame, but the issue was still there. So with that being said, all the armed forces, we kind of focus. Again, I did this job for a little bit before I got selected into the warrant officer ranks. But I can tell you that the pool is not that big. People think that being able to join, we only have 150,000, a pool of 150,000 to work from, to gather, and that's the age group between 17 and 24 years old. Now 150,000, just like this gentleman that also commented on his show, it's not a whole lot of people to go from, or to, it's not a big pool if you look at it nationwide. And this is how we have to keep feeding that green machine, so to speak. uh, it's it's not that much. And you got to think that because one thing in recruiting school that they teach us, always screen to disqualify, because the last thing you want to do is bring in, and we used to call him, little, I guess, little Johnny is the name that we used to use for. Say, you don't want to bring a Johnny into service that has got issues, because as a recruiter, it is your fault, and you own that kid for the first enlistment. That kid, whether he's good or bad, for those first 4 years, that name is tied to you. So if he fucks up, does something wrong, flips out, whatever the case, goes out and shoots a school, guess what? They're gonna go back to and do an investigation and look at the recruiting records. How was it? How was he screened to be disqualified? And even though you might have moved on as a recruiter, and you could have been shit hot, you could have been a centurion, which is a recruiter who in that his time in the Marine Corps at least, who brings over 100 kids into the service. They get this trophy, and you become a centurion. It's a big deal. So you could be a water walker basically, and your shit will get pushed in, should something, because you did not screen to disqualify. So again, going back to what I was originally saying, that number starts shrinking and shrinking, in that age group, because hey, has little Johnny or little Susie, have they been to the shrink? For what? Have they had any surgeries? Okay, what is it? All these things that you're just, and then by that time, that number is really, really small of qualified people that you can, bring into the service. So it's not a whole lot. It's not like people used to say, which I heard a lot of old timers say, and I don't know, this may be true. Um, oh yeah, I was in front of the judge, and he said, "Hey, join the service or go to jail." Yeah, maybe. Excuse me. Prior to 1973, when the whole Vietnam War, and obviously all the other conflicts that occurred, yeah, it might have been because again it was, hey, you got your letter, you went and presented yourself. It was up to that medical doctor to screen you out and make sure. And now obviously the recruiter is the first front line of screening, and then when you go to the military process entry processing station, they screen you out as well. But uh, you know but after that, it's no such thing as, oh, join the Marine Corps, or no, it doesn't work like that. Let me tell you something. Whoever tells you, oh, I'm just going to join the service, or oh, I'm just going to join because it's easy. No, it isn't. It's much easier for you to go to school. um, and I'm agreeing with this individual, as well, is that, think about it. You can go to school. Schools have wheel accessible ramps. Schools have all these other things. Obviously, especially with the nowadays, all these things that are inclusive, to obviously allow you to mobilize and go to school and join. But in the military, obviously, yes, now I get, there's a lot more as far as in regards to the LGBTQ community and everybody else, once they revoke the don't ask, don't tell policy, all those things. Yeah, yeah. Maybe the pool has gotten a little bit bigger, but if you don't have if you're an amputee, unless it happened in combat, and some folks during the Iraq or and during Iraqi freedom and Afghanistan conflicts have been able to prove, hey, I can be retained because I can pass a fitness test, I can do this, I can do that. But if you're an amputee or you were born without an arm, you can't join. If you have asthma, you cannot join. If you're a diabetic, you certainly cannot join. If you have, all these other things. So again, those that for you to say, I'm just going to join the military, it's wrong. I mean, wrong in the sense that it's not that easy. It's not that easy, and whoever tells you, they're full of shit. Because again, I myself was a recruiter, and it was easy. I mean, now my son himself wanted to join the service. Unfortunately, he had surgery and he was born with a little bit of a neurological disorder that was fixed with surgery, and but he could still have issues with it had he joined. So fortunately, he couldn't join. So it's not that easy to just say, oh yeah, I'm going to do it or whatever. So, and bottom line is that it's for a very long time it's not sexy to join the military. It's always been as always either a last resort, or it's been stigmatized to something that that's shameful, which in fact it really isn't, to be quite honest. um, and take it from somebody who's an immigrant, who I think I got a little bit of a different perspective and I could look from the outside looking in. It is not um, it is not a bad it is not bad at all, because it made me who I am today. Yes, just like anything, it's a risky, it's a high hazard job, and it's got its own set and challenges uh, that we all face, and everything. But I would do it all over again because it's made me the individual, and it gave me a lot of things that had I stayed in my own home country, which I'm very proud of and I love, and I bleed in its culture, and people run through my veins, as well as this great nation of ours. Um, but I can honestly say that there's nothing better than the U.S. and its military. So we have to be concerned, uh, and encourage our kids and not stigmatize, like, oh, oh, you. One of the things I used to deal with during the as a recruiter is like, oh, well, I don't want to join, I don't want to kill people and be a baby killer. It's not even like that, people, because simple fact is that you have rules of engagement, you have many other things that, believe it or not, is that before you even on that aspect, before you even pull that trigger, you better be friggin' sure, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen post that incident, even in combat, that that firefight or whatever it is going to get scrutinized by a lot of people with a lot of shiny shit on their shoulders, and it better be justified, is the bottom line. So just a lot of things. So, but we have to be concerned, uh, because if these numbers get, and again, we're all volunteer force, so who's going to be manning that wall, or or those frontiers, or going to these austere environments? Who are they going to send if we are not finding or candidates to be able to feed this machine, so to speak? And retention numbers are also falling. I mean, and you can blame it politics, which some of the articles I read, a lot of the branches are getting too involved in politics, and we shouldn't. That is not our job. Our job is to basically, hey, whoever's sitting on the hot seat, whatever party, whatever, they say, hey, and you need to go to over here and do your duty. Gone, done. Got to do what we got to do, because we don't have that luxury to choose. Oh, well, I support him. We don't have that fucking luxury. Is the bottom line. Um, so if we don't have these folks, or retaining these folks, the good quality talent, uh, something, that should be an alarm in the back of our heads. Should be like, hey, uh, who's gonna be manning these borders? I mean, shit. I'm gonna be 49 this year. I'll be more than glad to do it all over again. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I cannot run, an 18 minutes, 3 mile physical fitness test and do 20 pull-ups. I mean, I can shoot. I can tell you that because I do that just about every other weekend with my brother at the pistol range at the rifle range, and I still kick that ass like like you can't believe it. Uh, but I mean, as far as like running to a firefight, I'll get there, but not as quickly. And I'm so you can't depend on all these past veterans who I'm sure that they would roger up in a heartbeat. But we should be, out there all around saying, hey, we need to start doing something better. I mean, and so is the military. We need to get back to what's real. We need to get back to the real issues of uh, promoting America, because in the end, if we're all you know if we're all divided and struggling, and fight amongst one another, I mean, that's the enemy is going to capitalize on that. I mean, shit, I know I would, as a former, again, as a tactician, all those things. A unit that's divided is worthless. So, and people will capitalize on that. I mean, if people are looking at, hey, what's the U.S. like right now? And I'm just generalizing as a whole. I'm not trying to get involved in you know in one way or the other. I'm just saying that, stating the facts is that we, if we don't have a nice pool of available candidates that can feed the machine and be able to take care of our borders, be able to deploy and answer that 911 call, or whatever the case may be, we should be worried. And if our youth is that, it's also, some of the things that that we're dealing with, obesity, mental issues, um and obviously the military also needs to do a better job, I think, as a whole, is in incentivizing joining the service. And what else is out there? Yes, I know, I get it, that we don't do it for the money, and all those things. Well, we need to change tactics, because I think the budget right now that is being spent on recruiting for the military as a whole, I think it goes $500 million. I mean, that is a shit ton of money. That uh, if it's not working, I think we should be looking other places. I mean, I remember. I mean, up until I think like 10, 15 years ago, uh, the Marine Corps was doing its all commercials and things like that in the middle of the night. Yeah, on the weekends. Yes, but who's gonna, what kid is gonna be out in the middle of the night, you know, watching TV or whatever? I mean, fuck. It wasn't until then that you started seeing commercials, military commercials, Marine Corps on MMA, um, basketball games, that type of stuff. That makes sense. Obviously, that's good at that point in time. Then yes, but again, we should be, if you want to retain talent, you got to pay. You got to pay and make it worth it. It wasn't until I think one of the contractors, and it's a 50-year contract, Hunt Housing, that they started revamping all the Marine Corps military bases, most of their housing. I know in the West Coast, that is one of the prime government contractors, which it's a lot of money in there, and housing has gotten a whole lot better. The barracks look much better. Um, well, shit, right before I retired, I mean, I walked into the barracks of some of the Marines that used to work for me, and shit, I mean, yeah, I mean, you could check out video game units, from anything from PlayStations to Xboxes, whatever. I mean, big screen TVs. I mean, obviously, we have to, and we do, because if these kids are gonna say, hey, you could, hey, here's a blank check, you can cash it on, with my life at any fucking point in time, then I think we should do a little bit better of a job of, keeping in either one, giving that incentive coming in, and retaining them as well, whether it's payment or whatever, because certain MOSs, certain jobs in the military will also only pay you, there were those jobs like communications, computers and stuff that, they will give you a $10,000 sign up bonus, or depending on your rank and so on and so forth. But just like in the private sector, if you want to retain talent, you got to pay them, or you got to make it worth their while. Whether it is, getting better. Well, I mean, it's kind. I know the budget is tight, and with the shutdown of all the bases, depending on what and it also, and we can't blame the administration in the '90s, because all these base shutdowns. I mean, they started in the late with the Carter and the Reagan administration. So but something has to be done to one, quality of living for in the Marine Corps. I know it was for me. So being around with my family, not being dragged around from east to west, and as well as having better, maybe having better joint task force bases to stick around. I mean, I know the Army's got Germany and some really cool places, as well as the Air Force and stuff. So, um, but it all depends on what kind of units are there too, because the Marines, in our case, we support so many things, um, military wise, and the things that we do. That's why we have our bases where they're at. So, but it's concerning. It concerned me that I started again doing some research, reading that that the numbers are drastically falling. And I mean, more so in the last 10 years. Yes, 1970 numbers have been falling, or the military as a whole didn't make their quotas. I think it was like in 1973, 1999, 2005, 2018. And again, it all depends on what's going on at the time. Maybe, whether there's conflict, the economy crash, or it's good, whatever. But if we're at an all-time low, where even the Army is really concerned, and the Army being it takes 3 corps to make an army, so it's 3 times the size of the Marine Corps. Um, you know, that's concerning. That's big time concerning as a whole. So, uh, we as individuals and as parents, we need to, one, talk to our kids, two, do our best. One, work with technology. Yeah, I get it that we all want to play games and be sedentary and basically zone out. With these things right over here, these mobile computers, so to speak. I know, because I do it myself, but there's got to be a checks and balances, and a happy medium, because the way we're going, I mean, if you read the Times, we're no longer the superpower like we were 20, 30 years ago. I mean, we're not. There's going to be a paradigm shift, and we're not going to like it, folks. We're really not, and it's going to be concerning. If you think we got our asses reamed during 9/11, uh, we tend to forget. We're really quick to forget and dismiss things as a whole. And that's concerning, because once we forget, that's when the enemy sees an open door, and they'll something bad. I hope not. And I mean, I'll be ready. I'll do my best to be ready, but we cannot allow ourselves to let another 9/11 happen. We cannot. Um, because I mean, that was a huge black eye to us. A lot of Americans perished, and and these with these recruiting numbers falling drastically, we just should be, we should be concerned, and we shouldn't be seeing joining the military as a last resort or something that's bad. Because I mean, the individuals that go in there, I mean, they have to be, as I mentioned earlier, they're scrutinized, they're tested mentally and physically, uh, not just to raise their right hand and swear in, but also they're tested, um, mentally and physically, as they're going through boot camp, because that is the ultimate screening platform, right then and there. I mean, if they cannot make it through, uh, onto their school, their follow-on school, whether it's mechanic, whether it's administrative, whether even if you're infantry, those schools are also screening, forms of screening, because if a kid can't swim in boot camp, he definitely cannot be in special forces. If a kid cannot shoot, or barely shoot, again, he cannot do certain job. If they're taking a test to uh, do computers and they don't pass at their school, or they wash out from their post boot camp, post infantry training school. Um, if they wash out of these other schools, then they go to be another MOS, and if they wash out of that, then they just they're actually hey, they're basically, hey, we need to let you go. You're not augmenting, you're not conforming, you're not passing these tests. I mean, uh, so we just need to be bring back our kids and be parents and set them up for success and ensure that that they're learning and also that they're physically fit, because in the end, as these numbers keep falling, if they are, we just as I keep mentioning, we're just leaving the door. We're opening the door and setting ourselves up for something really really bad in a place that we just don't want to be. You know what I mean? So, but I'm curious to see or hear what you have to say about this show and the things that my concerns, and or even if you're a veteran, why is it that you join, and if you have any concerns of with today's military and where it's going, and where it's shifting. I know I do. I know I have concerns. When you know when when you see high-ranking individuals talking into Congress about woke and this and that, that we should be staying away from all those things, because again, we don't have that luxury of getting into politics and none of that stuff. That is not our job. That is not our business. That is why we have politicians. That's what we elect, whether we like it or not. That's what we elect us. Our job is to you know, basically guard our nation and answer that call in the event that some shit goes wrong. That is it. That is my opinion. So I'm curious to see what you think about this show and your thoughts and comments, whether you agree or disagree. I mean, that's the whole purpose of freedom of speech. And again, we may not see eye to eye on subjects, but that's fine. I mean, that's what we're here for. So let's talk about it, and then tell me what you think. But uh, before I get out of here, I always like to end my show. If you've been struggling with mental health, PTSD, anxiety, depression, or you just struggling as a whole, um, reach out to somebody. Reach out to the VA, Military One Source. Reach out to me. Reach out to a buddy, but just reach out. I mean, allow me the opportunity of being your last phone call or the last person that you talk to, and hopefully we can come together and get you help, because everything does have a solution. It does have it does have a solution. It's not that bad that you need to make that ultimate that last take your life is the bottom line, because you matter and you need to stick around. So, but that's it for me today, folks. I think I'm going to end X right over here. I think I bumped my gums enough today. So, with that being said, get some, or I am out of here. See you later, and see you next week.